What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video where we have got a brand new named SMG in the game. If you played the brand new classified mission, you've likely picked this up, but the question is this thing any good? So don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. So here is the gun itself. We've got the Old Glory. Now, as you can see at the moment, I am going to compare it to one of my other favorite guns, the Dark Winter. But yes, this does look unfair. Do not worry, I've got you covered. My calculator will account for this, and I'll show you all that in just a moment. But before we get into that, you can see that this is called the Old Glory, like we've covered already, but it comes with perfectly close and personal, which is obviously a certain play style. So it is going to be dependent on if you like to play within this 7-meter range, and because of that and the huge 38% weapon damage bonus that it gives us, that's actually going to be fairly interesting. I like to run the Dark Winter, which gives us 90% critical hit damage, so definitely a different type of damage buff, and obviously that runs on kill as well. But every now and again I will flip to something like measured on my gun instead, because that's not dependent on kills, and if you're playing in a group that can become fairly tough. But to be perfectly honest with you, I often do not use SMG builds in groups. They're very much more solo friendly than they are group friendly. People with LMGs and ARs are likely just going to fly past and get all the kills, meaning that with my Dark Winter, even when I'm prototyped out of the ears on this build, yeah, I wouldn't keep up with a Lexington or a gear shift or anything like that. But we are digressing, so let's move on. Right, so this is the build that I put together, not necessarily saying this is the build that you have to use, but this is just my kind of run and gun easy play SMG build. Now, as you can see here, I'm running the Equalizer with Perfect Obliterate, Hunter's Fury 4-piece, and then the Sokolov Concern backpack, but I choose to put Bloodsucker on because it just then makes everything really easy, because Hunter's Fury is not only giving me damage, it also debuffs the enemies, disorientates them as well. So while I'm killing, I'm getting a lot of health and armor on kill from the Hunter's Fury set, but I'm also getting a lot of bonus armor from Bloodsucker, which just means even if I've got to take a bit of damage if I'm playing open world and things like that, that I don't really have to worry too much. I can just face roll and run around on heroic. The stats itself for the Dark Winter here are 56 crit chance and 169% critical hit damage and 70 headshot damage. Now, what I've done purposefully here is, if you look at the mods on the gun, I've got crit chance, and crit damage. I have purposely done crit chance, crit damage at the same values, so that we know that that all lines up exactly the same. And that's the build that I'm going to compare with the two guns. So let's pull up what my calculator says. So here is my calculator that's available for everybody to use at DJT-CKL-ERJ-YTB. I will be posting a guide on how to use that sometime shortly. I am still developing it quite a bit. But as you can see here, we'll just flip over to build number B. I've already pre-filled this with SMG, the Dark Winter. And just to give you a very quick rundown of what you actually do here, you basically put your stats from the in-game page into the calculator, and it tells you how good your build is. So as you can see here, 1,2,0,647 matches the weapon damage in game. So does the crit chance, so does the crit damage, and so does the headshot damage. One thing that you need to be aware of at the moment when I'm making this video, one of the events started, the Vanguard Overdrive. We can't turn this off, so I am actually getting the swap speed and reload speed buff. So I've accounted for that exactly as it says, because I can't turn it off. So my reload speed just here at 1.37 will actually be faster than what it will be if that buff isn't on when you're watching this video. So as you can see though, I put that in here as well. The RPM should be 1260, so it's a good job I was showing you this. And the mag size is 45. We're using it, although it does say high end 10%, that's because we're not triple god roll on this gun, so it's just 10% damage to target out of cover. As you can see here, the 10%, we're not using the foxes, and it's going to show us all damage as if the target is out of cover. We're using 4-piece Hunter's Fury. We're using Perfect Killer, which you can see here. Obliterate, which is also perfect as well. No backpack talent to put in there because you only ever put in damage talents, because that's the numbers that we are looking at. Prototype Echo total on this is 7.2, but we'll just keep that the same for both guns so that it is fair, because even I have got Echo on this as well at the 1.2%, so just pretend that they've both got Echo on at 1.2%. And then that is it for this. Now, before we get into the results, what I'm going to show you here is we flick to C here at the top, SMG with the old Glory selected. Now, what you'll notice here is if I flip over to this section here and go to G, swap weapons, you can see I've actually put the weapon damage in. That's actually a little bit misleading because that weapon damage is based from this, and my weapon damage here is not maxed out. It's also not expertised, so I'm not getting the full 30% like I'm getting on the Dark Winter. But we can fix that quite easily. So what we can do is basically make up for it by pretending that this is expertised. So just before we move on there, we know all the other stats are the same because we put the mods exactly as we should have. So we're safe there. We're going to keep Echo the same. So that's all good as well. So we don't need to change anything there. But we know that we're short here on weapon damage because we don't have expertise 30 on our gun. And we are also missing the weapon damage here to take us to 22.5% SMG damage to match it up so that it's actually a fair fight. We don't have to worry about that too much. Enter everything in as you normally would. Scroll down. All this is kept exactly the same. And then in section number 5, you can see here I've added the extra 30% all weapon damage for the expertise that it should have to make it expertise 30. And then the other 11.3% that it is missing, because if it was prototype, it would have 22.5% here as well. So we don't have to waste materials in leveling this thing up to basically hope that it's better. We can actually just do the fine tune and adjustment in section number 5 there. The only thing that you have to know about a little bit is where to actually put that extra weapon damage in. So for instance, extra all weapon damage is going to be basically expertise. This level here, you know, SMG damage here as well. And for instance, total weapon damage would be potentially something like vigilance or something like obliterate that adds other types of weapon damage. So you've just got to be very careful that you're adding them in the right section. But hopefully I'll be able to get around to writing a detailed guide so you know exactly where to put extra things in. We could add the overdrive event in here as well. We can't do that at the moment because it's already applied because the event is always on. So adding that again now would give us even more reload speed into the equation. So we do not need to do that here. But if you want to know what your build would be like during this event before it was actually live, you can actually do that there by flicking that on. All right, so enough said. So here are our results. So let's just make this a little bit easier for you to read. There we go. And as you can see here, build C, which is the old Glory build, actually wins out when it comes to sustained DPS versus armor, which is, you know, pretty cool. And then burst DPS versus armor, our Dark Winter build wins out. That's set at 40% headshot rate. I'm not a headshot demon, but if you want to move these up and down, what's quite interesting though, if you never hit the head, you can see that, you know, they draw really close to each other for the sustain DPS, and then the Dark Winter wins ahead at that point. But the better you are at headshotting, all of a sudden, if you are a demon, you can see actually the old Glory build starts to win out, which is very interesting and that's why I'll do like that slider, because static numbers are not the greatest sometimes to show you how good it is. These numbers will match up to your numbers in the range with an error margin of 0.7% or something like that. If you want to check what back and forth would add to it, you can see by doing that as well, just by ticking it. And if you really want to see what busy little bee will do to it, you can do that as well, but that's only for one shots and probably not going to be used in this kind of build. So how long would it take us to actually kill enemies? Well, this thing here can actually tell you. So if you're playing solo on heroic and it's against an elite, it's going to take you a second to kill them, because that's essentially if you're shooting them in the head, so you're doing the most damage, and you will use 10 rounds and no reloads will be needed, and you'll strip the armor at 0.7 seconds. So then we can come down to these charts here, which give us a little bit more extra information. So you can see here is that pretty much, as you can see just there, that the yellow build, so let's just check which the yellow build is, which is the dark winter build, ramps up quickly, and as you can see there, it's ramped up at max damage, so that's assuming that it's procced and you've got a kill before it's even needed to reload. That drop in damage there is where it's going to reload, where again the same for the old Glory. The ramp up in damage is very quick, and it's hit there. Now that's a little bit deceiving, because the ramp up in damage is essentially not really there, because you're killing within 7, as long as you're killing within 7 meters, it's going to be instant, but that ramp up is going to be obliterate, you see. So that's what the ramp up there, because you remember that's building up and building up and building up. So that's why that gives some useful information. So although both talents here are on kill or within a range, this little ramp up that you're getting here is how fast it takes for obliterate to get to the top as well. And then you just got another chart here at the bottom for your whole magazine and how long it will take you to do it. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a drop off here for the dark winter, and then it ramps back up, but they're very even across the board. You get as long as you're killing within 7 meters, you're going to get much more of that straight up chart, whereas the dark winter you're going to get drop offs and pickups, but essentially they both do very well. And even though, you know, I do prefer burst builds, there's nothing at all between these, but you obviously have got the both contingencies there. That it's interesting because yes, one of them you are playing within 7 meters, otherwise you're going to drop off. The other one, it doesn't proc when you get the kill, it's going to drop off. So two very different play styles, but definitely a gun that is extremely usable. One thing I would say here as well is that it's going to be hitting a lot slower. I prefer faster RPM guns. That's why the Dark Winter wins out on burst, obviously. But you know, it's very viable. It's not a dead in the water gun, and if you like that kind of SMG, it's definitely going to be worth you trying out and playing with it. I hope this helps. I hope you are enjoying using the calculator. If you have any problems with it, do let me know. Just a very quick note, you can let me know on my Discord. There's a whole channel dedicated to it. You can use it for DZ stuff as well, but that still is experimental. Much more work has gone into the actual general damage calculator, but I don't see any reason why the DZ ones wouldn't work. I've made adjustments for all the talents. I've made adjustments for the regular DZ and the toxic DZ and, you know, and things like that. They've all been made for them. So yeah, let me know how it is. And what I will do is I will put the links for build B and build C. So for the Dark Winter and for the Old Glory build, I'll put the links in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, agents. Big shout out to all the people down here. You can read, I can't see it on the screen. Let me just, if you check out the website, you can see at the bottom, there's a whole list of things where I've got certain health data from and things like that, the Division 2 community spreadsheet and things like that. So big shout out to all them people. Do check them links out and give credit where credit's due. But as always, agents, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.